Hey, y'all, welcome to the fourth episode of the Anti-Filter podcast, a podcast for the mentally fucking ill, the neurodivergents, the disabled, the hot people, the ex-drug addicts, for the girlies, for the gays, for the theys, and for the 10%. With us, I'm very excited. We have a new co-host. So a few months ago, I met Shannon and I actually coached Shannon. And now that Shannon is no longer my client, we are going to be doing this podcast together. So yeah.
I could literally scream. I'm so excited. What the fuck? Oh, can we curse? We're allowed to curse, right?
We can curse. Fuck yeah, we can swear, bitch. As we must.
Yeah,
bitch. As we will. So tell me about yourself, like a little tidbit about you, and then we'll kind of talk about your trip, because you went on a fucking trip recently and you told me that you were BPD splitting. And I want to talk about that.
Yeah. I don't even know. Tidbit, obviously wouldn't be here if I wasn't mentally ill. And into lifting. I don't know. It's hard to like sum it all up so quick, but just like you say all the time, like this gym shit like literally changed my life and saved my life. Like obviously it's still a work in progress and like still learning lessons and things like that.
Yeah.
Especially being like just recently diagnosed. But I don't know, like I just, if there's one thing I could do, it's like help someone like enter into their like healing phase or like their healing journey.
Yeah.
And like coming out on the end of it feeling better. But yeah, that's about all I got for tidbit.
It's so funny because when you first came to me for coaching, I was really worried because you're a CPT and I don't actually have any certification. So I was like, this girl, she knows more than I do. And I was like freaking out. And coaching you was such a beautiful experience because I don't know, like we just get each other. And I think that I have that kind of connection with all of my clients because we're all like neurodivergent, we're all mentally ill, we're all dealing with shit. And I've been diagnosed as BPD for a long time, since I got sober in 2013. And I remember you saying to me one time, we were on a check-in call and you were like, yeah, like I think I'm BPD. And it's so funny because you started seeing your therapist and she was so reluctant to give you that diagnosis. And you posted a video today of you when you were like cutting your fucking hair off a few years ago. And you were like, you had this smile, you're like cutting your fucking hair off and you're like, ha ha ha. And I was like, this is so fucking BPD coded. Like as if your therapist was fucking reluctant to diagnose you with BPD when that video is in existence.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, like, and I think this is something that you've touched on, but I think it's something that you mentioned too, like, even like just the stigma that comes along with mental illness. Like my therapist even said, she's like, well, I'm very reluctant to diagnose you because like once I diagnose you, it's a forever thing. And I was like, babes, so get that. Like I get it. It's a forever thing. But like, I'm telling you what I've experienced and I'm telling you that like, this is nothing like, it wasn't like my life went to shit and at 20 years old, I was mentally ill. Like like the first time I ever talked about like killing myself, I was in 7th grade.
Yeah.
And I had those feelings and thoughts before.
Yeah.
It was just the first time I had like openly said it to someone. So, you know, and that's why I think too, like, and I know like social media goes back and forth between like self-diagnosing. Is it valid versus non-self-diagnosing? But I think in today's day and age where we are in mental health and like therapy and psychologists, yeah, it's valid.
It is.
It's fucking valid.
And it used to really upset me years ago. Like we're talking maybe like 8 years ago, before I really knew anything about anything. People who would self-diagnose would piss me the fuck off because it's like, my kind of like mindset of it was, you know, as if you're like, it felt like it belittled my experience. But as I've come to like grow, educate myself more on the topic, you know, I was really lucky getting my diagnoses. And the reason why I got diagnosed at the time that I did is because the fourth time when I went into rehab, I was in a fucking mental hospital, right? And I was seen by psychiatrists. And I have tried my entire fucking life to get a psychiatrist. And in Canada, probably the US as well, it's really hard, to the point where after going to rehab, I needed help so desperately. And before I had gone in, my family doctor, I had asked her, like, hey, can you please, you know, like, what's going on? You know, it's been 2 years. I asked you for a diagnosis, or not for a diagnosis, for a referral to a psychiatrist. I need my meds adjusted. What's going on? And I forget if this was, I think this was after I got sober. And it had been like a couple years. And she had said to my mom, the reality of this situation is that your daughter has too many issues and psychiatrists don't want to take a patient like that on. And she was like, are you fucking kidding me? So what did she do next? She drove over to the mental health hospital in Ottawa. She went in, demanded that I got seen by a psychiatrist, had Code White called on her for aggressive fucking behavior, and tried to get a psychiatrist. And it was impossible. And it's funny because I moved to Mexico and I had been trying at the time for 16 years to be followed. I had had a couple of people that were willing to take me on, one of which touched me inappropriately, and was hitting on me, so I couldn't see him. And I literally got there, was talking to my friend at the time who I lived with in Mexico about the situation, and she was like, I got you, like, we've got you a psychiatrist. And I got a psychiatrist in 3 minutes, as opposed to 16 fucking years. That's how shitty our fucking mental health system is here in Canada, and I'm assuming also in the States.
Yeah, it's not, I mean, and this is like, it's funny because I moved to where I'm at now. So in Wilmington, I moved here to go to college.
Yeah.
And I graduated with a degree in preclinical public health. And my whole end goal was to basically work on projects that were on immunological disorders, right? So like understanding things like HIV and cancer and how we can basically move away from our current treatment programs. And I had professors literally telling me that my research would never be funded and my research was potentially harmless to myself and those that I care about.
Why?
Because in America specifically, because it's so capitalistic, they make a profit off people being permanently and chronically ill.
Yeah.
So when you look at things like diabetes or you look at things like cancer or HIV, those are medicines, treatment programs, expensive ones at that, that people will be on up until the day that they enter hospice. And the reality of it when it comes to mental health, right, is here in the US. So my mom is very mentally ill. It's
Like mother, like daughter.
not to like, well, she got a whole different
Yeah.
flavor of things. Um, and I watched my mom struggle for like 2 years to try and get disability for like, she like could not work. Like there was no working for her. So, and there's just so much stigma here, but really what it boils down to is like, there's not enough research getting funded about it. I mean, I really think it's absurd to claim that BPD is only 10 to 20% of the population. There's just, as rare as it is, I think because you got to realize that psychologically, or well, psychological treatment and like understanding of it is so new. Like in terms of medical history and timeline, it's very, very new.
Okay.
And it's constantly emerging with new information.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, for example, like 30, 40 years ago, people were getting lobotomies. Like people with my mom's conditions were getting lobotomies.
Yeah.
So when you look at how new it really truly is, I believe that a lot of people are just fucking undiagnosed and misdiagnosed all the time. And the reality of it is like you go to a therapist and they could say one thing and be like, meh, you're not mentally ill, you're just traumatized. And then you go to another therapist and they hit you with the book and they're like, boop, you got 12 personality disorders, 3 of which, you know, like, and it's just, there's no consistency.
Well, I remember when you went to your therapist the first time and she was like, I think you're just traumatized. And it's like, babe, what do you think? Where do you think I got BPD from? From the fucking trauma. Like, this system is so fucking broken and it really pisses me off. But you know what's really fucked up that I found out, and it makes me honestly so fucking emotional. It makes me want to cry. I don't know if this is the case in Canada, but I know it is the case in other parts of the world. Did you know that assisted suicide is available for people with BPD? Like, I'm literally, my whole body is like on fucking pins and needles right now because that is literally how fucking bad it is. Like, that is how hard it is. I remember a very specific instance in early sobriety where, and this is like just to kind of like for the people who don't know what it's like, this is just kind of like to illustrate. I was on such a high. So like BPD, by the way, is kind of like bipolar, but as opposed to being manic and then being depressed for several days, weeks, or months on end, it's like 15 to 20 times a day, up and down, up and down, up and down. And I remember in early sobriety, I was in my first apartment and I went to Subway and I got a sub, a drink, and a Subway cookie. And I literally was in my apartment prancing around, pretending I was a ballet dancer. Happy as fuck, like ecstatic, just so fucking happy. And my cat, R.I.P. Bean, fucking knocked my Subway cookie onto the ground, and it was still in the package. And I went in 0.3 seconds from being the happiest person on the planet, ecstatic, manic, also, to literally wanting to kill myself and feeling like I had no other way out. And in early sobriety, all I did constantly was call my mom like 7 to 10 times a day because I was finally coping with my feelings for the first time. And it was like, I genuinely wanted to kill myself on such a serious level 7 to 10 times a day. And it was like that for 10 fucking years. Like, it was like that in active addiction. And then it was like that in early to mid like sobriety. And it's so fucked. Like, it's also so fucked how fast we pull switches, because we can go from being suicidal, like being like, this is it, like I'm done with living. And then, like 10 minutes later, you could check in with us and we're like, oh, it's not that deep. But at the time, it was so deep. It's so fucking deep. But you can't even think of, like, you can't even rationalize that it's actually not that deep, because in that moment it feels so fucking real and your emotions are just fucked.
I think it's not even just the emotions too. Like, I recently posted a video like kind of showing the physiological reaction that your body has when you start like dysregulating, right? Like, it's obviously different for everyone. I think that's another thing that makes mental health so hard, is like the fact that we have just an encyclopedia of like, you could experience this or that or this or that, and maybe it's not a one size fits all diagnosis. I really don't think that that's the case. But I know that like when I start to split, I get very like flush, like my skin like explodes in a rash. I'm trembling, I'm shaking, I can't control my emotions. I'm like in a very heightened alert state. But I know sometimes too, when I split, I can get hypo aroused and sleep for days on end. Um,
Can you talk to me about splitting? Like, what is splitting? Because I've felt it, but I want you to tell people what your, I guess, like, not your version, but like, what is splitting to you? Because you went on a trip recently and you said, you posted after the trip, you were like, it's been 1 year since I've split. What did you mean by that? And like, are you comfortable with talking about what happened on your trip?
I think I'm definitely comfortable talking about what happened on my trip. I will say, just like upfront, something that I'm kind of coming a little bit more open to is this concept that, especially with BPD, we have a tendency to people please out of, fear of abandonment and perceived abandonment. So even if we just think someone's mad at us, we might suddenly like not intentionally love bomb in order to like make sure that that person isn't going to abandon us. But I have a tendency to gaslight myself really bad. to a point where I will make a situation where I'm really not in the wrong. I will make myself the bad guy or feel like I did something wrong. And after talking with like friends and stuff, I realized that in this situation, like it was really just a miscommunication that like really escalated. But regardless, like I'm okay talking about it because I'm not in the state of feeling so guilty, because I realized through therapy this week and some of my like friends here back at home that this situation wasn't my fault. But I've like used the term split for like my emotional outburst probably for like the last 4-ish years, even before I knew what BPD was. So I didn't know what BPD was like 4 years ago. And I would have these like, it really started for me like when I was drunk. Like honestly, like that's where it kind of started.
Interesting.
I'd get really, really fucked up. And I would either like immediately head dive into the whole like suicide ideation and like make a full attempt, or I would like lash out at whoever the hell was around me. Um, and it felt like uncontrollable. And a lot of those moments, like I blacked them out, whether it was from drinking or from the actual split itself. Like it's really not there. And my memories of them are really only from like what other people like can tell me or like explain to me. But I will say that it's basically like for me, it's a very overwhelmingly physiological and like mental reaction, where I can either like be full blown meltdown, tears, screaming at the top of my lungs, like hysterical tantrum vibe, or like extreme BPD rage where like I'm probably like terrifying. Like I've actually my ex literally one time like looked at me while I was holding a split off. Like I was holding it back, and I was like, I guess he saw the look in my eyes and he was like, "Shannon, I'm not going to lie, like I'm fucking scared right now."
Fuck.
And I was like,
Fair.
"I know, I don't know what you want me to do here. You kind of put me in a triggering situation."
Yeah.
But really it's just like this overwhelming like feeling, and like the only way I really feel like once it like kind of starts for me, like I have to have an emotional release. Like there's no getting past it. It's happening whether I'm around you, alone. Usually I try to self-isolate. I like run and go lick my wounds in a corner.
Yeah.
If I can't get away from you, which this is kind of how that situation went. Holy fucking shit.
Get into it. It's what's interesting is I don't know if you've always self-regulated, but I personally, after doing lots of research on attachment styles last October, I realized that BPD people and anxiously attached people, because we have fear of abandonment, we tend to co-regulate, and that has ruined so many fucking relationships, friendships, platonic, romantic. So I started doing this thing where I started trying to learn how to self regulate. And it's really fucking hard. But have you always self regulated?
No, not at all. The where I'm at now in my healing journey came, and like where I'm at in my understanding of BPD and attachment styles and like self-regulation, is because I was in two very narcissistic relationships for like a total of 4 years, and I had ruined probably every last interpersonal relationship that I ever cared about. I hit rock bottom is what happened.
Fuck.
Yeah, it was bad. Like I'm talking like I sent like a sticker emoji, like just a sticker,
Yeah.
like nothing else, to my friend, and it was two bananas making out from the hospital bed where Wilmington PD found me um by myself, absolutely fucked up off a bunch of tabs and alcohol, where they proceeded to like tell her that like, well, I texted her the banana emoji and then she was like, what the fuck is going on? And I guess the hospital finally got in contact with her and was like, your girl is a hot mess. She's tried running. She really just needs a sitter. She really just needs someone to sit with her because she's just real fucking gone. But I just lost, like I ruined every chance that I had at like, I don't know, like I felt like I was the strong friend for so long and I was like the person that everybody looked to. But I was like, the shit that I went through growing up was, I really have yet to meet people who have like really hit that level. And so I get very like nervous about like allowing new people in because like the reactions that I get really depends if I'm going to keep you around. Um, but with the same token, like I know that with all of this kind of being new for me and like trying to understand self-regulating, I realize there's a fine line between self-regulating and not dumping and like using people as co-regulation because it exhausts the fuck out of them.
Yes. Yes.
But now all I do is fucking self-isolate.
That's what, yes, because it's so
I
fun.
don't let people in
Yes, and
at all.
I don't know about you, but I don't feel as connected to friends because of that. And you've come to me, and this was when we still had like a coach client relationship. And, you know, we'd have our check-ins and I'd be like, I'm going through it, you know, like, but I wouldn't talk about it. And it's the same with other friends because I had a friendship last year and I was in love with this girl. Like I loved her. She was like twin fucking flame level, my favorite person on the whole fucking planet. And she, like me, you know, you and I think have almost all of the probably the same diagnoses. She's not autistic, but she is majorly BPD. And she, at the time, while we were, I don't know how she's doing now, but she was like very much like an alcoholic. And I didn't know that, right? Because when you meet people, a lot of the time people have this tendency to project an image of themselves that they want you to see. And what I saw was this really driven person. Like she was beautiful inside and out. And she was just this like charismatic, unbelievable human. And she is all those things, but I think that it's really hard to have friendships with let's say three kinds of people. One, people whose goals don't align with their daily action steps. Two, I completely forgot what I was fucking talking about, ADHD. Two, like for me, I thought that I'd be able, as a person who's an addict and an alcoholic in recovery, to be friends with somebody who is in active like addiction. It's not possible for me. And three, I totally lost it. Like I completely forgot what the fuck I was talking about. And that's on ADHD and forgetfulness. But this relationship forced me to heal in ways that I've never fucking thought, because it showed me exactly what I was like in all my, not my delt looking like there's striations. I'm dead. It allowed me to see what I put everybody else through. And she reminded me of me in early sobriety. And it was like the most fucking jarring, difficult thing because I had to like talk her off a ledge constantly, but she was throwing herself off the ledge herself. Like, oh, I remember. The third thing is it's really hard to have a friendship with another woman who's like so desperate for male validation. And I don't say that like in a negative connotation sense. I think we all go through that as women, especially as women who have been through traumas. Like I'm talking like major sexual rape traumas and, you know, have poor relationships with our parents, specifically our dads. I think that we all go through periods where we really want to seek male validation. But it got to a point where it was like, you know, she was messaging fucking 10 different guys a day. Fine, don't care. But it started to impact me because of all the drama that it was bringing. And like, if her and I went out, and it's already hard for me to go out, and when I do go out, I go with someone who I consider to be a safe person. I go to the same fucking bar, like, but I never go out. And her and I, when we'd go out together, it was like the craziest thing. People would stop her and talk to her. I've never seen it before in my life, but it was like I was there to like have fun and dance with her and get drinks with her, non-alcoholic, of course, on my end. But like I was there to have a good time, and she could not stop talking to like other men. And it got to a point where our relationship, I could no longer handle it because her like need for male validation, love you, but just saying, was like fucking over someone that she was seeing that I really, really valued. And I just wasn't okay with it anymore. That was like the last straw where I had to cut it off. But it was like, it was horrible because I deal with like BPD things where I'm like suicidal, right? But it's not my own doing. Like, anymore. Like I don't know really how to say this effectively, but like she would constantly be putting herself in positions to get really fucking hurt and fucking herself over, and then she would be suicidal, and then I would need to fix it. And I can't fix something if you're just like making shitty decisions day in and day out. And it was fucking exhausting. It's so tiring to have a best friend who's always fucking suicidal. It's really fucking hard because it doesn't leave you any room to deal with your own shit. And I did that in every fucking relationship I was in. Like, yes, my partners were abusive. Some of them were sexually abusive, physically abusive. You know, at one point it wasn't bad, but like it happened. But I also put them through so much shit because I mean, they exacerbated my mental health issues, obviously, but like, it's really hard to care for somebody who just wants to fucking die constantly.
And I think too, like on top of it, like when you add the layer, right? Like anybody in an abusive situation is going to have what we call like reactionary trauma or reactionary abuse. A lot of those times in those abuse situations, whether you're neurotypical or neurodivergent, you go through what's called reactionary trauma or reactionary abuse, where you start abusing your partner back. And, you know, whether it's through berating and nagging and like, you know, I know in my situations where I was getting very abused on multiple different levels, like I started lashing back out.
As you should. Sorry.
No, like period. Like I really should have. Like fuck you for that. But I think too, something that my therapist said to me lately, because I will say that like in the past, right, like 8 years ago, especially like when I was in high school and the start of college, I sound a lot like me then was a lot like your friend. Like the way you described her, like I was doing the same shit. Actually, I stole this man's virginity in high school and lost a friend over it because she liked him. And he ended up saving my life a year later because I tried to jump off a balcony.
Not the jumping off of a fucking balcony.
Thank you, Chris Bateman. But like literally, so like I was that friend too. And something my therapist told me was at some point you have to stop perpetuating your abuse cycles. That I
Yeah.
was single-handedly perpetuating my own abuse cycles because it's all I've ever known. And you know, we look at this in like cases of trauma, but it's, I mean, most people with mental illness are going to have an extenuating amount of trauma, especially BPD, because unfortunately, we're a magnet for it. Truly, I feel like I'm a magnet for that shit. Because why did my vacation go the way that it did? And no, I think this is a good segue point because we're talking about friends and we're talking about being neurotypical and neurodivergent and being friends with people who are neurodivergent or neurotypical. This is someone that originally I would have considered neurotypical. We had met when we were very young. She knew me during a very dark time. And my perception was our friendship ended because I split and I lashed out and I said a bunch of awful things and whatnot. And I had dead it. Like once I fuck up, if I take the accountability and I kind of just want to move on. I don't want to harp over it because most of the time I usually am at that point in like a couple week period of like suicide ideation. Anyways, we rekindled, made this whole last minute plan to go for her birthday. And something that I've been doing lately is setting firm boundaries. Because one thing with BPD is it's very difficult for us to set boundaries, but also uphold them. And for a while, I had this mentality that, like, if I set a boundary, they have to follow along. Like, I thought basically boundary meant, like, I'm telling you I don't like this, so don't fucking do it. And really, a boundary means I'm telling you I don't like this. You're your own person. You can do what the fuck, whatever you want. But if you do this, I'm gone. There's consequences. And I found myself in a position where I easily could communicate the boundary, but when it came to the fucking part where I was like, peace out, Girl Scout, I couldn't ever do it.
Okay.
Anyways, so I've been working on setting boundaries in a healthy, firm, not mean, not necessarily nice, because you need to let people know like you're crossing a boundary. Um, and the second day of our trip, so everything was fine. I mean, I had noticed that like the last couple of months that like she just seemed to be a little bit more like overstimulated, in the sense of like small things would go wrong and she'd freak out, and I'd be like, okay, like understand and valid. I'm not going to discredit that because I would probably have the same reaction, but like let's woosah for a minute and like keep it in check. Especially like having to self-regulate. It's very easy now to like try and get people to like do it themselves. But she was not regulating well over anything at all. And it was overstimulating the fuck out of me. And the second day, I literally was like, bitch, can you fucking stop? And I snapped. And she was like, and it wasn't a split. I just communicated boundaries. Like, can you literally stop? You were overwhelming me to a point where I'm ready to rip my own hair out. And she was like, I don't understand what I did. You didn't have to snap at me, da 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 da. And I sat her down and I said, look, we haven't been friends in quite a long time. Like we didn't talk for like 2.5 years. And I was like, but since then, I've been definitely diagnosed with CPTSD, BPD, and there's a couple of other diagnoses that I'm working through right now that most likely are just they're there. There's like no other way to put it. And I was like, since then, I've reached a point where like if I'm overstimulated, this is how I'm going to communicate the boundary to you, which is, hey, you're doing this, which is pissing me off and bothering me. Please stop.
Yeah.
And I was like, and if I can't come to you as a friend and say, hey, this is pissing me off, I'm sorry, it's bothering me, and you can't like meet me halfway and understand, you are not my friend, especially if you know how like neurodivergent I am. And I told her like straight up, I said, I'm not expecting you to be capable of meeting me there or meeting me where I'm at mentally. I'm not expecting you to know it all in one day, but I have people in my life who make the effort right now. And I have people in my life who don't overstimulate me or don't put me in these positions. So if you're going to continue to do this, I'd rather just not be your friend.
Got it. That to me makes sense.
Beautiful communication, right? You're going to need to remember that. You're going to need to remember the fact that I did, in fact, communicate healthy boundaries, because this is where it gets twisted. So, we did the situation. I'm like, I don't hate you. Like, we're good. I don't want any bad blood. I don't want like this to be weird. It's just me communicating a boundary, and I need you to like hear me out. We go on. It's the third night now. And like, I'm fine. Like, I didn't think anything was wrong. I didn't think anything was like big beefing. Like, I didn't have any grudges. I didn't feel any type of way. I was chilling. And I walk on eggshells. So like, I thought we were good. We're drinking. It's the last night. So we're teed. Like, trigger warning. So sorry. Because I know that you're sober, and I
don't know
don't
what
want you to
this
feel that like,
means. What do you mean?
like we were drinking like all day, like
Okay.
for multiple days at this point. So it's like the third day, we're like going on 3 days of just drinking straight.
Yeah.
But I also had problems with alcohol in the past. So I limit myself
Okay.
a lot. So I'm like very strict on myself with alcohol consumption, especially because for me, and at least with my BPD journey, like that's how she kind of like got her voice, if you will. Because
Oh.
I had that bitch shoved down for so long. So alcohol makes me more likely to fuck the club up. You know what I'm saying? Like, just be ready to fight.
Yeah.
And so I was limiting myself. I was being on my best behavior. I was doing a great job regulating, like handling shit that I really didn't want to fucking handle. I was being mom. I was babysitting. It was fine. I was like, this is fine. I do a great job. I'm a great party mom. Well, she pulls me into the bathroom and she's like, I might have fucked up. And I was like, what the fuck happened? And she said, well, I took a couple of shots of brown liquor, and brown liquor makes me angry.
Amazing.
I said, I love that so much for me. Can't wait for the next 5 hours of getting more drunk. So, and keep in mind too, like in the back of my head, I'm like a little upset because I was also offered the brown liquor, and I said, hey, Mr. Sugar Daddy man, I don't like brown liquor. Can you get me white? And he was like, ain't nothing but a thing.
Yeah.
Because hear me out. I used to be a male validation whore as well. And now the only way I want your validation from a man is if you have your wallet in your hand. And that is a hill I will die on.
Okay. Slay.
Like, so I'm like, okay, cool. We're not going to get angry, babes. It's okay. We're in the bathroom. I'm going to pee. We're going to go out and party, sweat the alcohol out. It's going to be great. Well, while I'm in the stall, I guess she did not hear, I'm going to pee real quick and we're going to go out and party. She heard, well, why don't you go party by yourself then?
Oh, amazing. That's not good.
So I'm in a very tiny bathroom, the size of probably an apartment, probably the size of your closet, actually. And she is in my face screaming at me, full-fledged screaming at me. And I was like, whoa, right? I'm like, hold on, babes. That's not what I said. I was like, I literally just said, I have to pee and we're going to go party together. Like, I was like, I'm so sorry. I did not just go tell you to go party by yourself, but I understand that's what you heard and that made you feel upset. Granted, my parents did fuck me up to a point where when they realized my dad was dying, they were like, let's put this bitch in therapy. And it didn't really do anything because I lied throughout the entire process, but to each their own. Why would I be honest?
No.
But so I'm de-escalating the situation, right? I'm like, girl, it's okay. It's okay. And I was like, not for nothing. You did just tell me too that like you took brown liquor and it makes you aggressive. And like, I was like, I love you so much. And I've had so much fun on this trip. I really don't want to be like the one that you're taking your aggression out on because I feel like I don't deserve it. And she exploded even more. Yep. So then I politely and very calmly said, hear me the fuck out. I don't want to do this. This is the last thing I want to do on the last night of our trip. I don't want to fucking do this. And so I started walking out of the bathroom. And here's where that bit of communication comes in because she's now hollering out in the open hallways of the cruise.
No.
We're talking about this. Don't run away. You can't fucking communicate. See, this is your fucking problem. You're not walking away from this. And Alison, when I tell you the entire elevator trip, the walk back to the room, she is behind, screaming at me.
Oh, no.
Screaming at me, yelling at me. In the elevator at one point, I screamed back at her too. And I was like, bitch, can you absolutely just the fuck not? And
that friendship
of course,
would be done for me.
Oh, girl, you best believe, right? So keep me in mind, she's now, it's like 15 minutes. This bitch has been screaming at me because she misheard what I fucking said. Okay, cool. Now you've done the one thing that triggers me the fucking most. And if I tell you to go the fuck away, go away. I mean, crazy fucking idea here. So I finally am like 6 feet from the room. She's back behind me yelling at me. There are people in the hallway and I'm literally calmly as ever being like, Nisha, I have BPD. Can you please not? Baby, I have BPD. Can we please not do this? I can't do this with you right now. You are not in a state to have this conversation. And finally, like after like the 8, like, this is your fucking problem. That I lost it. I started like my whole body was shaking and I turned around and I said, bitch, if you don't go the fuck away, I'm going to black the fuck out and probably murder you. Go away. Go away. Go the fuck away. Crazy idea. Go the fuck away. I'm the last bitch that you want to fuck with. The absolute last one. Because once you push me past that limit, and one thing to get me that triggered is to chase me screaming. So I get in the room. I text one of our friends that we had met and made there. And I was like, bitch, you're never going to see me. I'm not coming back up. I love you. Great meeting you. Let me know if you ever need anything. And I started packing my shit. The fuck up. And I ordered a $600 flight for the next day from Tampa back home. Because I'll be fucking damned.
Yeah.
Someone's going to talk to me like that. And then I go to Miami with you.
Fuck no.
The kicker to this entire story is that I texted her that, so she doesn't talk to me that night. She comes home, tears the room apart, tears it like limb from limb. Like whole time I'm pretending to be asleep. What? I'm just laying there pretending to be asleep. She's like deliberately walking into my bed.
Okay, no, because why do we pretend to be asleep? I'm gonna just tell you a story really fast, and then we'll go. And then we'll go back to it. I remember when I was still a drug addict, there was this guy who I thought was so hot. He was a fucking drug dealer, right? And we were hooking up. We were at his house. This man had snakes, spiders, like we were pulling them out. terrified of snakes. I have snakes tattooed all over my body. Fucking hate them. So anyway, we're hooking up, and he's like, let me go down on you. I want to go down on you so bad. And I'm just like, I'm on my period. He's like, I don't care. I'm like, well, I do. That's fucking disgusting, you gross bitch. I wake up in the middle of the night. This man, okay. This man is pissing in his closet in front of me. I see him pissing in his closet. He stops pissing in his closet. This is like the bed, the closet, him. He's pissing. There's a chair here, okay? He sits down in the chair after he pisses, legs spread, staring at me, and I'm pretending to be asleep. Then he goes like Michael Scott, crawls into the fetal position at the end of the bed. I wait for 3 minutes. Here's how you know that I was like terrified. I was a fucking drug addict, okay? I used to steal shit all the time. He had pounds of weed, fucking drugs. Like, this man was my drug dealer. And I went, first of all, left this beautiful leather jacket that I found at a secondhand shop. I left without shoes, my jacket, and I sprinted home. It was scary as fuck. I was like, this man is frightening as shit. Left my shit. Did I ever get it back? No. And I literally could have stolen like so many drugs, and I've stolen shit before, so much shit in active addiction. And it freaked me out so much that I left and ran barefoot home. Anyway, and that's on,
first off, pretending intense eye contact. Jail the fuck of me. That's a sex crime. Like, they're on a sex offender list.
And you know what? Somewhere. Men do that too. Like, this guy that I also hooked up with when I first moved back to Canada, was like one of the last times I did hook up with. We were hooking up. I was sucking his dick, and then he stops and he starts jerking off and staring into my fucking soul, into my eyes, and he's jerking off, and I'm just like, okay, I'm literally sitting there like, do you need me for this? And then I left. I was like, I went downstairs, and then, yeah.
No, because like, so off topic, but like, just unpopular opinion, a man jerking off in front of me will never be the thing. It'll never get me good, okay? It'll never do whatever.
Do that? Like,
especially the intense eye contact.
No.
Please go the fuck on.
No, because it literally, when you give me intense eye contact while you're like jerking off, it literally makes me want to run.
I literally can't even maintain regular eye contact in normal situations. And your dick is in your hand. You think I'm going to be like right locked in? No,
it's horrifying. But you were pretending to be asleep.
Yes, I'm pretending to be asleep. She is like yanking these decorations off. And I'm like doing the kind of pretend to be asleep where like your eyes are closed, but you got the slits. The slits. The slits are there, so like, you know that your eyes are like shaking a little bit, and she's slamming the fucking doors. She is like tearing, and she's like purposely like walking into my bed. Either that or she's so drunk. Oh my God. Speaking of, so like I said, I control myself. I am someone who doesn't drink to like get fucked up anymore. It's more so of like a social thing. Like, I don't do it on my own. I don't do it in excess. This was like, I actually haven't like drank this much in like years. So I was actually very impressed with myself, how much I control myself. Like, I got stomach issues. So like my nausea was like on deck. I like was hydrated and fed myself. It was great. But the first night I wake up, right? And next to my head is a bucket of a throw up. And I said, first off, I don't know what it is about throwing up. It's probably because I don't know. I do know why, but that's a whole nother story for a whole nother time. I have a huge fear of getting sick. And if I smell someone, no, I'm done. Like, I can't, I have like, what is the phobia of like vomit? That's me all the way. I cry when I get sick, and I'm a grown ass adult. But anyways, I'm like, wow. So that's a waste bin of vomit in our room on day one. Wasn't me, ho. So, we're talking in the morning. I was like, are you feeling good? Are you feeling okay? And she's like, yeah, what are you talking about? And I was like, babes, there's, vomit in between our beds. First off, dirty. And then second off, I was like, so like, are you good? Because like, you were asleep, I'm assuming, or half asleep. You could have dead ass died. And like, you can choke on your vomit in your sleep. And she was like, I didn't throw up. It must have been you.
Not the gaslighting.
That's what I said. Honestly, my therapist did call her a narcissist, and I thought that was extremely interesting. But side note, bitch tried to tell me she didn't throw up on her bed, and I literally pointed over to her bed and I said, so then why there's throw up on your bed? So you thought I crawled into your bed with you,
Yeah.
wrapped your arm around me and said, no, bitch, no, I did not. So like even in that like moments, there was like so many red flags, and I was like, really is about to get so trashed and can't control it.
Yeah.
So anyway, she's stumbling around my room. These mattresses, like they fly off. So like I'm halfway like on my frame at this point. Like the bed, like my feet are on the bed, but like that quarter of the bed is off. And she's stomping around, whatever. I end up falling asleep at some point. Yeah, we're talking about like disembarking at like 8 a.m. Like
Oh.
we're done.
Yeah.
Done. So she doesn't say a word, destroys the room. I guess she goes to sleep. She wakes me up because she's slamming doors again. So I wake up and I'm like literally seeing her walk out. No words were shared. There's no text on my phone, nothing. And this is the morning that we're supposed to drive to Miami from Tampa together. So I had already bought a flight ticket home, and I texted her, I guess like once I got my Uber, and I was like, hey, just let me know when you get home and I can come get my shit out of your fucking car, because bitch, and I almost bit the bullet and didn't do it, but then it was my fucking my dark sport like onesie,
Yeah.
the
No.
blue one.
No.
And it was a extra large dark sport, like big ass hoodie that one of my clients gave me for free ski. And I was like, you're gonna have to run off my shit. You're gonna have to give me shit. And she's like, well, you can come get me now. And I was like, I already am in the Uber to go to the airport. And she's like, oh, you're going to the airport? And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Yes, I'm going to the airport. Do you think I'm coming to Miami with you? And she's like, well, we didn't discuss anything about you not coming to Miami. I was like, what in your, either you don't remember what the fuck happened, or like just what in your right mind would ever make you assume that I'm still coming to Miami? And I said, and also while we're talking about it, run me my money for the room because I won't be there.
Real. I literally, like, noise to me as an autistic person is such a big deal. If someone were to be in my presence, slamming doors and making noise like that, oh, bitch.
Girl.
Oh, bitch. I would be in a BPD rage, like blackout level, like see red, see black, nothing. Like when noise, and the simplest noise can dysregulate like me, like we're talking going to Costco and there's a fucking cacophony of carts and people talking in the checkout and people singing at the checkout. Why are people singing at the checkout? Because you're making a donation. I don't fucking know why. People like just like cars outside honking, like that to me is like my fucking nightmare. But if someone were in my presence slamming doors, here's my question to you. Well, obviously, that's the thing, we have to play nice in order to get the dark sport back, obviously. But have you spoken to her since? Are you going to attempt to be friends? Is she acknowledging the situation?
So I basically was like, kind of crazy that you would ever assume that I would go to Miami after your behavior, but pop off. I'm also delusional, so no hate, just in a different way. But I was like, yeah, like I was like, I definitely want my stuff. And she was like, well, I'm not gonna hold it hostage. And I was like,
Good.
obviously you're not. I will barge your door down for this shit. But I was like,
Commit a crime to get
like,
back
look,
to the dark sport.
no, like literally, fuck that. But I told her, I was like, look, I'm sorry that like there was a huge miscommunication that led to this. Like I did not want that to happen. I was like, but like it is what it is. And there's like nothing I'm gonna do or try to do to like reestablish anything. And she was very apologetic. Oh, she was kind of a cunt to me at first. And then she was apologetic when she kind of realized like, hey, maybe I did fuck up a little bit. And before she got home, she was like, or she got home and she was like, feel free to come over whenever. And I was like, well, first off, I'm fucking busy. Just, I'm busy. But then she was like, I'd really love to talk to you. Like when you come to get your stuff, if you'd like, but if not, like I can just unlock the doors and you can like grab it and dip like to her car. And I just honestly, after talking to my therapist and talking to a lot of my friends, one, my therapist did in fact inform me that she feels like I did not split as much as I did lash out and tell her to go the fuck away before I do something awful to her. Splitting would have probably been like not saying that and doing something awful to her. So she was like, let's not go to the immediate assumption that you just threw out a whole year's worth of progress. Because my therapist was like, you've done everything that you could to de-escalate the situation.
Yeah.
There's nothing you could have done more. She literally was just being difficult at that point. So once I kind of got that like reassurance, I kind of stopped gaslighting myself into thinking that I'm the evil one, and was like, I didn't even address like having a conversation. I was like, yeah, I'll swing by at 7 when I get off and grab it from your car. And I did that. I unlocked the doors and I grabbed it and left.
I don't know if you experience this as well, but it sounds like you do. Like, I don't know if it's like a BPD thing or if it's the autism or if it's ADHD and forgetfulness. But I find, or maybe it's like I think it's like a combination of the ADHD forgetfulness and then the fear of abandonment with BPD, that if I'm like in a situation with somebody and they explain to me how I'm wrong, even if they're fucking gaslighting me, in the moment, I will take on full blame and accept full responsibility so fast, and I will feel so bad and make it so my fault and like take so much on. And that happened to me recently with a scenario with someone from my previous gym. And I realized, like, that night, I was beating myself up over it. Like, it was insane. And I felt so bad. I was crying. I was questioning who I was as a person. I was like, am I this horrible fucking person? Did I do this horrible thing? When in reality, it took me a while to just be like, okay, you took so much of that on and it was so not necessary. And like, he still did what he did, but like, he was very much a narcissist, very much trying to gaslight me. And then I took on so much blame. And the last thing that we did, like when we spoke, was me apologizing profusely. And I'm just like, it pisses me the fuck off because I also noticed something about myself. And I think that it's really the ADHD is I have a tendency to forget everything. Like, I'm talking about if we see some beef on TikTok, for example, with two creators, for example, right? And there's some creator talking about how the other creator is like this, no, I'm on their side immediately. And then if I see another video with the other creator on the other side making her point, I completely forgot about what the fuck she was talking about and I'm on her side. Like, it's the same thing in TV shows. It's the same thing, unfortunately, in real life. Like, I forget everything. And when someone confronts me with like facts, even if it's them gaslighting me, I'll take their word as bond. And I don't know if it's the forgetfulness or it's because it's autism and I'm so fucking literal. I don't know, but I've realized it literally a couple weeks ago and it ruins me, dude. Like, it ruins me.
Yeah, no, like I can't tell you how many situations I'll sit back in bed and be like, I apologized for nothing. Like mm, I honestly, I don't know what's worse, like the ex narcissist in my life who really gaslighted the fuck out of me, or the fact that I just like helped them do it. You're so right. Like, of course you would cheat on me. Your grandma died. I'm so sorry. Why would I ever be so selfish
No.
in asking for you to be a loyal and committed to me when you asked me to be your girlfriend 3 fucking years ago? I know I'm terrible. So sorry. But I think too, also, I think it does boil down to the fact that there's one commonality in BPD and NPD, whether, you're looking at them separate or together. And that's like that inner pain. Yeah. So like in the sense of like, so narcissists, right? They have this mentality, like they're so awful. They're so terrible that they have to like bring people down essentially to like feel any ounce or shred of like happiness, essentially. Like
Okay.
truly, like the whole kicker behind the NPD, my second therapist told me this when I was dealing with a true, like he was diagnosed NPD officially. And his was not from trauma, actually. It was just pure genetic. Like there was nothing wrong in his family. They adored him. They loved him. The worst thing that happened to him was he wasn't allowed to go to college because he didn't get good grades in high school. Like oh my God, like I would have killed for the family that he had. But regardless, he was chemically imbalanced to a point where he had narcissistic personality disorder for whatever reason. And there used to be moments where he would literally break down in tears. I'm talking like shaking violently and being like, I don't know why I'm doing this to you. And I'd be like,
Fuck.
fuck. But okay. But I say all this to say that, like, truly, like, something that's common, and one of the reasons why it's very easy for us to have that mirroring relationship with them is because they, like, BPD people who have BPD, they also, like, we're very quick to feel awful about ourselves.
Yeah.
Like, in the sense of, like,
Low
our worth
self-worth.
or what we deserve, or like, I know, like, I perceive abandonment from my friends, and I'm like, oh my God, what if my friend's mad at me? And I'm like immediately running down the list of all the awful shit I've done within like every past 6 years and being like, well, there goes another one. Like, it's, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like in a way, it's also like this, you have this belief and it ends up kind of extrapolating itself in your relationships. And because you have this belief, you like not self-sabotage, but you kind of like perpetuate this cycle that, like, yeah, you are the bad guy.
Yeah.
You're so fucking crazy, bitch. Like, you are evil. You are. And then there's also this fucking narrative that BPD people or people with disorganized attachment are like evil as fuck and you need to run in the other direction. I'm sorry. I might have terrible interpersonal relationships, but like, I'm a down ass bitch.
Yeah.
Like, I would rather die for my friends or my favorite people or the people that I absolutely adore. If you're not one of those people, like, fuck you. But if you're one of those people, like, I will fucking lie my life on the line for you happily.
Dude, like and I think the thing that's really cool about us is because we've been through so much shit, we're learning how to communicate effectively and set those boundaries. And setting boundaries is a beautiful thing, but it's also very scary because it shows you who your friends are going to be when you try to set a boundary. And when I tried to set boundaries in that previous relationship and friendship I had, it was not received well, bitch. And it was getting to the point where every time she would contact me, even just thinking about it right now is like, my blood pressure, like I can feel myself, like my heart fucking palpitating. Like I would start having panic attacks at the gym. And she would text me when I was training, and it was like, it was affecting me so fucking deeply that I just like, I couldn't do it. It was fucking hard. But one thing that I did learn in a position like recently, specifically where I did end up apologizing too much for the role that I like played, was when I was at my previous gym. Like, you know, you don't really know why, but I did get kicked out of my previous gym. And my content was making people, yeah, I got kicked out of my gym. Yeah, somebody at my gym pushed me into canceling my membership because he felt uncomfortable with my presence. And he used my friend, my close friend, to get me to do it. So I did it. And then I realized that, you know, I took on that responsibility. I was like, he's feeling unsafe. No. It's because in this first podcast episode, I talked about how we were sexting and how I didn't feel comfortable. And that was a BPD shift that I had. That was my issue. But he felt upset. He felt betrayed. No, whatever. Like, and I took that on. I took it on so deeply. I was like, I'm so sorry. No. He was sexting me back. Like, this wasn't, I think he was just pissed off because it made him look shitty because he was sexting me 1 week after he broke up with his girlfriend. Yeah. And while they were together, she was like, I'm worried about her. I think she likes you. And at the time I didn't like him and I wasn't attracted to him, but I was obsessed with him. It was like this BPD ADHD like obsession because I wasn't attracted to him. Anyway, I'm not going to get too much into it, but I ended up going back to the owner and being like, hey, listen, like, you know what? Because I said to him through my friend, I was like, listen, like, I'll just come at a different time. Like, you know, I get if you're feeling not comfortable with me being there, for sure. Like, but this is my safe space. I want to come here. I'll go at a different time. He was like, no, that's not acceptable. Like, she can't do it. It doesn't matter. So then I canceled my gym membership. And a few days go by, and at the time, a few days before that, the owner had come to me because a clip came out from this podcast that never, like, this part never actually aired, where I was talking about the men at our gym. And it was a joke, but it was taken like out of context and it upset people. And apparently for a long time, people had been saying that my content made them uncomfortable. Now, if you look at my gym content, it's not scripted. It's me just like talking to a camera, right? And I don't like, I'm not going to name names, but I don't create content where I'm like pretending to hit on women or I'm pretending to hit women. And I think that I forget that I was at a gym whose like majority, I guess, of the demographic there, their political beliefs did not align with mine. So I was making content where I, was being sexual, I was being myself, whatever, and it made people feel uncomfortable. And I took so much of that on. And I went to the owner and I was like, listen, like, I want to come. Can I please just come at another time? Like, please let me come home. And he was like, unfortunately you can't. And I felt so bad because he had said that it had impacted his business. And I took that on immediately. And I felt so bad that I messaged 50 people separately apologizing for if my content made them uncomfortable. Now, what I want to talk about quickly, and then we're going to end it here because, bitch, I fucking went to the gym and I have not eaten. I need to eat. I have 1 hour before I need to sleep. I know you do too. Is one thing that I found was really helpful is when the gym owner pulled me into the office, he was talking to me about a video that he saw, and I felt like it's something that I really pulled from and I've tried to do a lot more recently. And he was talking about how he saw a video of this guy who had a really, really high IQ, like super, super intelligent. And whenever he got asked a question, he'd take like 10 minutes to just like, not 10 minutes, sorry. He'd take like 10 seconds to respond. And the interviewer at one point was like, why are you taking so long? And he was just like, because I'm thinking about it. And I think that as people who are BPD, especially, we are so reactionary and our fucking emotions just hop back and forth, up and down so fast that when we're confronted with these things and when we do experience things like splits, it's really valuable to take time to decompress, to chill the fuck out, to get out of that headspace. Because when you respond in anger in those moments, that's when friendships and relationships get destroyed. And you cannot go back after you've split on somebody. There's no fucking going back. So one thing that I've been trying to do recently is to just try to take pause. An impossible task, but we're trying.
It's hard, but like at this point, I've really realized I would much rather run away from the situation than like keep putting myself in it. I will also say I am avoidant personality disorder by chance, so shocker there. I'm avoidant because I'm anxious. Love that. I'm like, I don't know. Maybe this is an unpopular opinion, but like I understand from a business side everything with the gym and whatnot.
Yes.
But hear me out. If I'm assuming the majority of your gym population is male.
I don't know, but you know what? I get it from a business perspective. And that's what I said to him. I said, listen, you have a newborn baby, you have a wife. I was like, the last thing that I would want to do is like cause you stress as a business owner in this place where it's brought me so much fucking joy. And when I did reach out to a bunch of people and apologize, a lot of them had the same reaction. They were like, what the fuck are you talking about? You've only ever been nice to me. Like, we're good. Like, I don't understand. And I think that a lot of the time when we make content as women and we're talking about our experiences, sometimes people feel triggered, but it has nothing to do with us and everything to do with their perception of self, And I think a lot of people too, like men specifically, who have realized that there have been blurred lines, sexually when they've had sexual relationships with a woman. And when we are as open as we are, especially online, talking about our sexual traumas, being raped, they're realizing that there are lines that they've crossed, and it puts them in a position where they have to be introspective, and they don't like that because facing your demons is fucking scary. It's challenging. And asking yourself, did I rape someone, is a very scary question to have to ask.
I would agree. But I also think too that like, I think a lot of like that situation to me sounds like there's a group of people who couldn't handle certain things that were said, and instead of having a conversation with you about how it made them feel,
Yeah.
or there'd be like a compromise where like,
Yeah.
hey, it did kind of make me feel uncomfortable that you talked about me, it was taken above your head and put in someone else's hands who, yeah, from a business side, at that point, now you've got two members beefing. Yeah, we can't do this. Someone's gotta get the hell out.
Yeah.
But I think too, like, part of me, and maybe this is just like my immediate like gut impulse, but I don't know. I feel like women, we've been made uncomfortable by men our entire fucking lives.
Yep.
If I'm gonna fucking record myself in the fucking gym doing what men can do, like lifting twice my body weight with my fucking thong booty shorts up my like, I don't give a fuck. Okay, I just don't at this point.
Yeah.
And like, I could sit here and accidentally hurt your feelings, and I'll take accountability for that. But if the shoe fucking fits, bitch,
Yep.
the shoe fucking fits.
And, he told me that he was like, your content is making men at the gym feel uncomfortable. And I said, the last thing I would want to do is make men feel uncomfortable in a place where I feel like it's home. And then I thought to myself, the same thing. I was like,
that's the first thing I want to do.
Making me uncomfortable my whole fucking life. I'm sorry that it upsets you that a woman is sitting here talking about her sexuality. He was referring to a video of me saying, I'm at the gym, I'm wet, and I'm very uncomfortable. It was an out of context clip taken from a YouTube where I'm talking about autism fucking sensory issues down there. But like, that being said, also, I think it pisses men off that a woman is sexual, choosing to be single, choosing to be celibate for non-religious reasons. And it's like, I think also that it pisses men off when someone is sexual, and in my case, hypersexual, but it's not at their convenience. Like, I think that it's okay for a lot of men, specifically right-wing men, if a woman is sexual, if it's at your beck and call. But if a woman is just like sexually free on her own, that's when it's disgusting. That's when you're gross. That's when you're a whore. That's when you're a fucking skank. That's when you're a slut. But if it's when you're on your knees while you're playing video games and you're like, bitch, come suck my dick, then it's okay.
And like, I think that's the thing too, is like, I know like women, and yeah, I was about to say, but no, truly. And I think like a lot of men are coming to the realization that like women don't give a fuck anymore.
No.
Like, and they're not, I mean, don't get me wrong, they're not taking it well, but I mean, I don't know, like, beg the question, like, if you had gone and said, hey, I was talking to this member, we're friends, like, it'd be like you going to the boss or like the dude of the gym and being like, hey, I like know this person at the gym, we're friends, we started sexting, suddenly felt uncomfortable, I want you to ban him.
Well,
like, don't watch your content.
You know what?
It's simple.
The gym owner said this to me too. He said, I don't really give a fuck. Like, there's a block button. If they don't like your content, they can block you. But the gym is.
Why are you watching the podcast?
And you know what? So many people are so fucking nosy that they watched that episode because they wanted to hate. And so many people at that gym also have hated on me. I literally have a YouTube where I had to fuck with the sound and edit out two powerlifters in the back talking shit about me. I literally had a member online in my DMs, and when I didn't respond, he was like, you're a fucking bitch. And did I ever go to the fucking gym owner being like, oh my God, these people are making me uncomfortable? No, because guess what? It's not fucking high school. Like, why are you such a baby bitch? Like, we're 30. Like, why can't you, if I can go to the gym and deal with being uncomfortable as fuck, like, listen, I get it. From a business perspective, 100% I get it. I was so apologetic. I took all of it on. And originally when he told me, I was like, no, I'm not changing my content. And then I thought about it and I was like, you know what? The gym is for training and I don't want to make people uncomfortable. So I was like, okay, I'm going to shift my content. And I told him that. And I said, listen, I got a lot of value from our conversation. I appreciate where you're coming from. And again, like, I'm so sorry. The last thing I would ever want to fucking do, like, I do not have beef with him. I love him. Like, if you ever see this, Nick, shout out to you. You have the best gym in Ottawa. But it is what it is, and my time there is done. And I also did learn that actions have consequences. And when you put your life online like that, a lot of people are going to fucking hate you for it. And I think I don't know. I'm reluctant to say this also, but I think with content creation, specifically like with Instagram, I exploded pretty fast. And there are like, I don't know, maybe like 4 people on this earth who consider me to be a fitness influencer. But I think that pisses people off because as somebody who has not been training very long, whose physique is fucking mid, who has high fat count and low muscle mass, to be perceived by a few people on the internet as a fitness influencer by a bunch of people who are amazing, like phenomenal bodybuilders, like light years ahead, who also post online. The difference is they've been spending years putting time and effort into their physique, but I spend 50 to 70 hours a week putting time into Instagram. So there's that return on investment piece. I don't know. I might cut this out because it makes me sound like a fucking asshole, but I also don't care. Like, that's the thing. Like, I think that it would piss me off too if that's what I was trying to do. But there's a difference between you trying to do something like fitness influencer wise and posting maybe once a week on Instagram versus me spending 50 to 70 hours a week unpaid, grinding my fucking ass off 10 hours a day on Instagram.
Well, and I think too, the reality of it is like one of the reasons why like other fitness influencers or other what we consider like people who have been in the game longer are considering you a fitness influencer is because the real people who have been lifting long enough or are really about the self-improvement and progress and about that lifestyle do not see you as a threat and would never see you as a threat because they're not in a competition with you. They are focused on themselves. And I've even experienced this myself where I feel like I have to show my transformation in order for people to believe me that I'm certified
Yeah.
or believe that I'm a personal trainer. Because if you just take a look at me, I'm a mid-sized, mentally ill bitch. There's not there's not much special here for the most part. But if you look at me a few years ago or a year ago, or I mean, a year ago I was weighing 140. I weigh 160 right now. My thighs are double the size.
Yeah.
My ass is double the size. So it's all about comparison, and those people really are just so fucking unhappy. And hear me out. I understand that you'll probably cut a lot of that shit out. But if anybody at your old gym has a problem, the reality of it is like they gave you views, they gave you likes. You're here to get a check at this point. If they're gonna sit here and be petty and send it and do all that, all they're doing is helping you, and that's really fucking sad that they are that down bad. But
I don't know if that's how they felt. Like, I don't know, but I think that like I could understand if someone would feel that way. But like, if that's what you want to do, like if you want, because I started content creation almost a year ago to the fucking day. And I was like, I'm going to be successful at this. I'm going to figure out how to do it. But like, you get return on investment in what you put time into, right? And one thing that I will say about you posting your transformation, and then we're going to end this podcast because we need to fucking eat, is I read recently, and I talked about it this morning actually in my YouTube video, is we tend to, I'm going to, give me 1 second. I'm going to find the exact quote.
hallelujah.
Okay, so this is a quote from Hidden Potential by Adam Grant. And this I think is great. So it says, we admire great thinkers, doers, and leaders, and we often focus narrowly on their performance. That leads us to elevate the people who have accomplished the most and overlooked the ones who have achieved the most with the least. The true measure of potential is not the height of the peak that you've reached, but how far you've climbed to get there. And that's on Jesus fucking Christ, is we as people who are neurodivergent, who are disabled, who are mentally ill, and who are still doing shit like working and succeeding in this world, despite the fact that we have all these things holding us back, we are doing the most with the least. And that is something worth fucking celebrating, bitch. Okay, this has been the end of episode 4 of the Anti-Filter podcast. If you could take 20 seconds, if you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, give us a 5-star rating, baby girl, so it helps get the podcast out to more people. This was the first episode with our girl, Miss Shannon, who is the new co-host. So if you liked this, let us know how you think. Editing this is going to be a bitch. It's an hour and 20 minutes, but fuck it, we ball. this is it. And yeah, that's the 4th episode. We will see you guys next week.
Bye.